Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices, is made possible in part by Allstate and the Searle Funds at the Chicago Community Trust.
Good evening y bienvenidos to Chicago Tonight Latino Voices. I'm Michael Puente, reporter with WBEZ Chicago. Thank you for sharing part of your weekend with us on the show tonight. We break down what's behind the mass exodus from Chicago City Council in a special Voices crossover conversation. Hear how people in Humboldt Park are coming together to support Puerto Rico following Hurricane Fiona. Meet the Southside Sisters bringing their cross-cultural blend of musical genres to Chicago stages.
We can share what we have with others through dance.
And take a trip to the tropics by way of Jefferson Park with a local couple sharing their love of Polynesian culture and dance with Chicago. First off tonight, 13 Chicago wards are set for new city council leadership come next year due to an exodus of alder people. And while a few of those existing city council members are leaving their seats to run for higher office, many are saying they're opting out simply because they're ready to go. Here's 10th Ward Alderwoman Susan Sadlowski Garza explaining her reasons for leaving on Chicago Tonight and offering some advice to the City Council's newest member, Timmy Knutson, who was appointed this week to take over the 43rd Ward seat.
I've spent my entire life giving back to people in the 10th Ward, 32 years to be exact, as a counselor, an educator, and as an alderwoman. And it's time for me to give back to my family and my friends and myself, quite frankly.
Welcome aboard, buckle your seatbelt, and kiss your family goodbye.
Joining us now as part of a special crossover with Chicago Tonight Black Voices are Juan Morado Jr. with Illinois Latino Agenda 2.0, Jamie Nesbitt Golden of Block Club Chicago, Chandra Van Dyke with Change Illinois, and Greg Pratt with the Chicago Tribune. Greg, we'll start off with you. What do you think is behind all of these decisions to leave the city council?
Well, the past couple of years have been really terrible, right? I mean, with the pandemic and with the civil unrest and with all of the normal terrible things that happen in the universe. And so they've been really hard years to be in public office. And then, and so all of that is true. And that's led to resignations all across the country in all sorts of professions. And then there's a lot of older, veteran, alder men and women who do not like working with the current mayor. And that also helps nudge them out the door. But in general, it's been a really tough couple years.
Well, Jamie, there are a number of progressive candidates in council and preparing to run for the open seats. Do you think this election has a potential to change the political direction of the city?
I do. I do believe that we're seeing a lot more folks again who are left of center enter this race, and it's going to be really interesting to see how that all sort of shakes out come next spring. I think a lot of folks have seen how Lightfoot sort of handles issues like police violence, like education, and they are not really happy with it. They want someone who is receptive to them, who hears them out. And Lightfoot has kind of shown that when it comes to police reform, she's sort of on her own kind of mission. And it's going to be really interesting to see how that shakes out next year.
Now, Juan, you expressed some disappointment during the last remap that more Latino majority wards were not created. Do you see these openings as an opportunity to get more Latino representation in the council?
Absolutely. I mean, it needs to happen at the ballot box. It's certainly one of the ways in which we're going to be able to take some seats that should probably be represented by Latinos. I'm thinking specifically of the 14th Ward, which, you know, is overwhelmingly populated by Latinos and has not been represented by a Latino in a very long time. And so I think for our community, that's one of those, we'll call it tier one target races to see that flip. And then there's a number of other ones across the city. You have Ray Lopez running for mayor to make sure that you can try to retain the 15th Ward. And there's going to be some new blood on the north side and the south side this year. So it's exciting time, but we really just need to engage folks in our community to make sure they're registered and to make sure they get out to vote.
Well, Chandra, your organization was also disappointed in the map that was approved. What do all these open seats signal to you about the direction of the city council?
So honestly, the mass departure of city council members, it really signals to us that this is an opportunity to ensure business as usual doesn't continue in city council. It's an opportunity to ensure residents have a voice in who their elected representatives are. During the Chicago remap, we said again and again, we're living in a revolutionary time. I believe that business as usual is no longer accepted, not by community members, not by organizers, and not by advocates. Now it's revolutionary because people are truly engaging differently. And although we have work to do to increase public engagement, this mass departure could help restore a lot of the trust in communities. Residents have grown tired and restless with having the same representatives year after year with no change to the conditions of their communities. So this mass departure could be a daunting experience, or it could bring a refreshing change. And I think the residents across Chicago are hoping for a positive change.
Great. Now, Greg, we're seeing progressives make a push for the seats. Is there any indication of a counter effort with more conservative candidates?
That's a great question and something we're keeping a close eye on. But so far, the answer is no. And there's been a lot of noise by conservative labor unions and businesses against some of the incumbents. For instance, there was all sorts of talk of spending all sorts of money to beat Fritz Kagi. And while they did put in some money, they did not go in the way they were supposed to. Lincoln Yards, Sterling Bay was supposed to get involved in that, according to the rumors, and it never happened. And with the mayor's race, you see a similar dynamic where there's a lot of people saying they want to take him out, a lot of more conservative. The mayor has critics on the progressive side, but also on the institutional establishment, big business side. And those people are not putting their money where their mouth is so far. They're criticizing, but they're staying low. And so far, you're not seeing that yet, which doesn't mean it won't happen, but it's not happening yet.
Right. Now, Jamie, Mayor Lori Lightfoot is facing her own challengers in the next election. What would you say are the odds we not only see a new faces in the city council, but a new face in City Hall?
Slim, honestly. I think Chicago has an identity crisis in that it believes it's progressive, but it's not really that progressive when it comes to choosing the leader of the city. So while we might have a more progressive city council, we might still have a very, very centered, moderate mayor. So I think, King and Sawyer might have a bit of a chance, or like they might get a little close, but ultimately I think Lightfoot is going to retain her seat.
Right. Now, Juan, do you think there are enough Latino candidates ready to win more seats?
Yeah, and it seemed to be more jumping in as the days go by. Petition season has started in earnest, and here where I live in the 30th Ward, I know there's a number of folks who are seeking that seat. My door has been knocked a few times. So, I really do think that there are a number of folks who are looking to get involved and looking to make a difference. And so, like I said before, it's really exciting.
Chandra, do these openings present better opportunities for the issues that organizations like yours would like to see addressed?
I believe so. I think that having new members on city council will allow residents to feel more empowered across the city, groups and organizations as well, to feel more empowered to elect representatives and push for representatives that will go ahead and prioritize the agendas for those organizations and those residents across their wards. And so I think this is good for the city of Chicago. And I think the residents across Chicago have been preparing for the opportunity to act. And now is the time.
Well, Greg, let me ask you this. Is there any pitfalls in having so many new members joining the city council? Are we losing something, or are there nothing but positives coming out of this?
No, I mean, institutional knowledge is real, and having people who understand how the system works and can navigate it is definitely a good thing. The issue is, there's a fine line between institutional knowledge and stale curmudgeon keeping the system afloat. And so there's some of that, but there's And the other part is, today's reformer is tomorrow's old guard. So, we'll see how that goes. But, every incumbent is not bad.
One big question for Chandra. Could this next election finally signal the death of machine politics in Chicago?
We sure hope so. We look forward to seeing a brighter tomorrow, right? We want to see the city more efficient, government being more efficient and more ethical. And so, as I've said, I will continue to say, we hope to see better business in the city of Chicago, in the City Council of Chicago, more ethical business, and we put away to the old business as usual as things have been done in City Council.
Jamie, where do you see the council heading into it with so many new members?
I think, again, I do see a more progressive council in the offing. We're having conversations that we didn't have a decade ago about police reform and education and public safety because of the fact that we have folks like Jeanette Taylor in the council. So we're going to see a lot more folks sort of enter join the race and hopefully win those seats. But that said, I do think that the person who will be heading that will be a very moderate tempered, business friendly mayor.
Well, Juan, we'll leave the last question for you. What are the issues Latinos want to see addressed on the city council?
I think our issues are the same as most everyone else, really. It's these issues that we're seeing across the city. There's a perception that crime continues to be something that is devastating a number of communities, both in the Latino community and throughout the rest of the city. So I think there's going to want to see some movement there. There's going to be certainly a desire to see some changes on the education front with the upcoming election for a new elected school board. I think we'll see a little bit more coming out of that. And then just more issues that are focused on the Latino community. It's those parity in contracting, parity and making sure that there's language access to city services. So it's important to us to make sure that there's representatives on the council that reflect our community so they can raise these issues on our behalf.
Great. Well, that's where I'll have to leave it for now in this special crossover conversation in conjunction with Chicago Tonight Black Voices. Our thanks to Juan Morado Jr., Jamie Nesbitt Golden, Chandra Van Dyke, and Greg Pratt. Up next, local efforts to help millions of Puerto Ricans who have been left without power and other resources following Hurricane Fiona. Hurricane Fiona swept through Puerto Rico, leaving millions without power. Now they are left to recover and rebuild once again from the damage left behind. Here in Chicago, local organizations and officials are coming together to support people on the island. Joanna Hernandez visited Chicago's Humboldt Park neighborhood and tells us more about the local relief efforts. Joanna, did you get a chance to speak with the locals, and what did they tell you?
Michael, I did, and as we know, Humboldt Park has a large population of Puerto Ricans. Many of the people I spoke with have relatives or know somebody on the island. They started to share stories of the challenges people are currently facing. We spoke with an individual who showed us videos of what it was like for his mother in Hurtado, a town located in the mountains in the central area of the island. You can see the heavy rainfall covering the roads. He says his mother is still without power and just using candles for light.
The video, I was like, wow,
Again, 5 years later.
5 years later. I was there in Puerto Rico in 1993 in Hugo, and that was the worst. For me, that was the first time that...
You were there also experiencing a hurricane.
It was bad for us. It was real. The house, everything, the wind take everything.
Similar stories were echoed throughout the neighborhood. While I heard pride in people's voices, I also heard the frustration about the ongoing battle of the island's fragile power grid.
Me preocupa, porque pues cuando pienso regresar veo todo eso y digo, ay no, porque se están robando el dinero a la gente del pueblo. Eso es preocupante, de que estén sufriendo las personas que realmente no tienen culpa, sino los de abajo, los de arriba disfrutando de todo mientras los pobres están sufriendo ahora mismo.
Hurricane Fiona sparked an island-wide blackout when it hit Puerto Rico, leaving millions without power and running water. In 2020, a private Canadian-American group was contracted to rebuild Puerto Rico's power grid, but the utility takeover has come with controversy as people continue to deal with summer blackouts. Jesse Fuentes is an activist and co-chairs the Puerto Rican Agenda in Chicago, and recently held a news conference to demand a federal investigation of LUMA.
LUMA was given hundreds of millions of dollars to build a power grid that could not sustain itself in a Category 1 storm. We have to begin to ask the very difficult questions. Where did the money go? What real infrastructure did we build? We also have to address the fact that energy bills have almost quadrupled in the last year. What are Puerto Ricans paying for if they're not going to have energy and lights?
When Hurricane Maria hit in September 2017, the organization led local relief efforts for the island. And they say they are once again mobilizing and relaunching the 3R campaign. An operation, Fuentes says, is targeted on collecting funds while also raising questions about the colonial relationship Puerto Rico has with the United States as it remains a U.S. territory.
People have been donating within the last 48 hours. As soon as we get money in, is as quick as we can get money out. And we send it over there. And the most important thing is this. We are not sending any money to the central government of Puerto Rico. We are sending money to local organizations, families, and local elected officials that truly understand where that money should go.
And Joanna, is the group hearing of people having to leave Puerto Rico and come here?
No, Michael, as of now, Fuentes says they are working to collect emergency funds, and if they have to, they will welcome climate refugees.
Houses quite literally are underwater as we speak. When we talk about bridges being ripped from their infrastructure from a landslide, we're going to have climate refugees. They're not going to want to come here, but some families don't have a choice, right? They have quite literally lost their homes. And we have to, the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois, has to be ready to welcome Puerto Ricans.
According to the Power Outage US website, there are still more than 800,000 people without power on the island as of Friday afternoon. On LUMA's Twitter page, they stated they are working around the clock to restore power. And Michael, President Joe Biden did announce on Thursday that the federal government will pay 100% of the cost of Puerto Rico's recovery from Hurricane Fiona for 30 days. And I know that there's still people who remain without being able to talk to their loved ones in the island.
Well, thank you, Joanna. And you can learn more where you can donate. Head over to our website. Back with more Chicago Tonight Latino Voices right after this. Being in a band together can be a strain on any relationship, even between siblings. But sisters Belinda and Maritza Cervantes, who are the front women of the Luna Blues Machine, say they've managed to keep working together in perfect harmony. Here they perform their song, I Can Do It, which they released in 2020 to offer a message of resilience during a tough time.
I can do it, I know I can. No doubt in my mind, I can do it.
We've used different combinations of words to describe ourselves and other people too, which we get a kick off.
Urban folk, brown soul,
Latin soul, acoustic hip hop.
Yeah, I think I'm this. I will fly dusty off like me. Yeah, I will survive. I will raise my hand.
We've been singing in choir and chorus together since we were little.
And we would create these music groups in grammar school and in high school. We would, with our friends.
I can do it, I know I can. Raise myself, stand up from the wasteland. Yeah, I'm able, I'm capable. I am worthy of getting done.
I mean, I've been writing poetry since I was in grammar school, so that's usually where it starts. And then if I have it all, that's great, but sometimes I only have a part, like I'll only have the verse, and then I'll come to my sister and be like, okay, so I need a chorus for this, and she'll help me write it.
I can do it, I know I can. No doubt in my mind.
Growing up, my mom would listen to a lot of oldies, music on the radio, and I just remember picking apart the music and listening to the harmonies, not the melody. And I would just love to just try to duplicate that in my head and sing them out loud. The oldies with the harmonies that definitely influenced me. 90s, early 90s R&B music also has influenced us a lot. Erykah Badu and Lauryn Hill are big influencers of us, I would say. Definitely Mexican music.
Like rancheras and like mariachi music.
Sí, lo puedo hacer. Jamás no tengo que mantener la medida de qué tipo de persona te gusta ser. Hablar mal no es querer.
We still get excited about, you know, our gigs and writing new stuff and creating new ideas, and so it's fun. It's a lot of fun to have her.
No doubt in my mind.
You can catch the Luna Blues Machine live on Saturday, October 8th in a community performance in Albany Park. You'll find more on that on our website. During the darkest days of winter, pretty much every Chicagoan has dreamed of balmy island breezes and a Polynesian paradise. But if a trip to Tahiti isn't in the cards for you this year, the dancers at Hokulea Academy can deliver a taste of the tropics by way of Jefferson Park. Producer Erica Gunderson has this hip-swinging story.
Hawaiian hula is storytelling, and it goes back. For the Hawaiians, it was a way of record keeping before there was a written language.
In stage performances and in the studio, Ale Gabino and David Acevedo tell their love story through dance.
We actually met at a Polynesian dance competition in Hawaii, and it was there when we became friends. We started talking.
I love seeing him do what he loves to do, so I really enjoy when he dances and when we dance together.
Gabino, a native of Mexico, and Acevedo, who grew up in Chicago, are both lifelong dancers. 6 years after meeting in Hilo, Hawaii, they married in 2009. A year later, they opened Hokulea Academy of Polynesian Arts, where together they teach their other great love, the love of Polynesian culture and dance.
Left, out, two. In Mexico, I feel like a family gathering. Everybody eats, everybody dances, and play games, stuff like that. So that's something that I saw in the Polynesian culture, that they are very family-oriented. It's all about the family. Polynesian dancing, it goes very deep into connecting to everything in nature, their ancestors, the land that they live in.
And Hokulea's professional division performs all over the city, like at this community event in Albany Park. They say their aim is not only to entertain, but also to educate.
They had no GPS or not really any maps other than the stars in the sky and the bird migration patterns.
When Ale decided to move to Chicago, there was other Polynesian groups around and things like that, but what we really noticed is nothing was giving that authenticity that we would see in the islands. So, as the story goes, if it doesn't exist, you create it.
Our main focus out of all of the Polynesian cultures are Hawaii and Tahiti. When you go to Aluau in Hawaii, they represent all of the cultures, all of the other Polynesian islands. You see the cocoa bra, the grass skirt, all the stuff, the fire dancer, the big headpieces, all the stuff being in Hawaii. So people just get that idea that that's all Hawaiian dancing. So then when they start learning the dance in class, they're like, oh, there are two different things, completely different styles. And I feel like I have that responsibility to those Polynesian cultures that I am portraying, that it has to be the right way. So I do try to do my best to keep it as authentic and respectful as possible.
Learning a lot of this stuff directly from Hawaiians, Tahitians. Teach that to our dancers, that these are the movements, these are the teachings we were taught, and in most Polynesian cultures, it's a gift, so you pass that gift on.
Acevedo and Gabino say their students, who come from all over the Chicago area, often have a personal connection to Polynesian culture that leads them to seek out Hokulea.
I just received a call yesterday from a dancer who, born and raised in Hawaii. He's lived here in Chicago for 5 years, and he misses home. And so for him, it's more about the camaraderie, the fellowship, that ohana, that family sense.
But whether the dancers come from Hawaii, Mexico, or Chicago, and whether they learned those steps on a tropical island or in Jefferson Park, the story Hokulea tells always returns to love.
When I do get to see him dance, like I'm just like in love. I'm like I feel like that's something that connects us anyway. Like it's not home, but it feels like home.
That's the cool part, that we get to do the business, but we also get to perform together. The love is real and it's deep. We can share what we have with others through dance. It's pretty cool.
For Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices, this is Erica Gunderson.
Gambino and Acevedo say they can teach anyone those moves, so if you're up to the challenge, you'll find more on our website. And that's our show for this weekend. Don't forget you can catch my reporting on 91.5 FM WBEZ. We'll leave you tonight with some more from the Hokulea Academy. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight Latino Voices, I'm Michael Puente. Thank you for sharing part of your weekend with us. Stay healthy, stay safe. Buenas noches.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a Chicago personal injury and wrongful death firm that is proud of its partners named Illinois Leading Lawyers by the Law Bulletin Publishing Company of Chicago.